When it comes to the best egg patterns for steelhead, they should have three common traits. The first trait is it should be an effective, proven pattern that has caught many steelhead over the years. The second trait, it should leave enough gap of the hook so that we can actually find purchase on the fish's mouth. And the third, the pattern should be very fast and easy to tie. We're going to show you some patterns here that'll fill up your fly box and get you on the river. Let's take a look at them. So let's start out by talking about the hooks. The first hook that I like to use, it's a curved hook, the 62 KC by Orvis, and the second one, it has a straight shank to it, and it's the 76 AR. Both excellent strong hooks for big fish. As far as the thread, either the Orvis G thread or gel spun polyethylene. It's a great thread, very strong, and you'll see why we need a very strong, very thin thread. Okay, so let's tie one of the very common egg patterns. Start by laying a base of thread right near the eye of the hook. And what I'm going to use here for a material is I'm going to use the McFly foam. Great material. It does make tying some of these flies really easy. This material here comes in strands. I'm going to take about 3 strands. Now if I was tying a bunch of flies, I'd leave this whole mat here together. But for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and cut a small piece. First, we want to begin by stretching the material. This will help with some compression. You'll see exactly why in a moment. Okay, very, very easy. I'm going to take 2 wraps around the material and always keep tension on this. This is why we want a very strong thread. We're going to lift the material now. And we'll go around the material, but stay on top of the hook. Okay, 1.5 times. Couple wraps in front, and then we'll just whip finish off. Next, take this material and you want to pull it very tight. See how I'm bending that hook? Pull it very tight, cut it straight across. Now if you look at this, it doesn't really look like much. It's all that space underneath. Here's where the magic happens. Take your thumbnail, put it up against the eye of the hook. Just a couple flicks, it's already started to go around the hook. And it looks like a full egg, but we still keep the integrity of the gap of that hook. It's the illusion of an egg. The next egg pattern we're going to tie is what we call an eyed egg, or one with a blood spot on it. So I have my 3 strands of fly foam here, and I have a single strand of a much brighter color. I'm going to take this, maybe about 1/4 of it, 1/4 to 1/3 of it. Just going to break that off, lay it on top of my other material, and let's tie away. So again, we begin by pulling tight, lay it on top of the hook. 1, 2. Come around the fly. Stay on top of the hook. Couple wraps in front. We'll finish off. Hold the material nice and tight. Cut straight across. Couple flicks of the finger. And there's the eye spot. Looks pretty good. A lot of eggs look like that. The next egg pattern will be a multicolored egg. And what I've done here is I've taken a bunch of different colors, broken some of those strands down to about 1/4 pieces, 1/4 to 1/3 pieces, put them all together. Take this lump of strands here and just twist it around. Now put it on top of the hook. 1, 2. We're going to give it one more wrap. I'm actually going to go around the base one more time just because everything's all twisted. Keep it all in place. A few wraps in front. Our whip finish. Pull the material straight up. Give it a cut. Sometimes when you're not sure what fly to tie on, throwing something that has every color in it will work. Beautiful pattern, great dirty water fly. The next pattern we're going to tie is what's called a nuke egg. Again, I'm going to start with that same 3 strands of the fly foam on top of the hook. You guys pretty much have this down by now, right? I'm going to whip finish off, but I'm not going to cut the thread yet. Still have a little more to go. Okay, so we're going to pull that material nice and tight. Cut it. Tighten the thread, that might help. Now I'll actually take some egg yarn. I'm going to grab a chartreuse here, but you can pretty much use anything you want. And this is just to make an egg veil. I'm going to take this and break it in half. Hold that one off to the side for another fly. And just spread this out. Let's put a nice veil all over the fly. So, this is what it looks like now. Lay it up against the thread, and you want to bend it. So you're doubling it over. Bring it up to right about the eye of the hook. Hold it back, and just wrap the material. This puts a nice veil over the fly. Just the way many flies look. Now if this veil is a little long, you can just trim it right down. Let's put our whip finish on first. And that's a nice thing about that fly. You can see that translucence with that other color coming through. Looks perfect underwater. That's the nuke egg. Here's another great easy pattern to tie. This one here was shown to me by a renowned guide and good friend Chuck Hawkins. And what he calls this is the rag clown egg. And pretty much what you take is a bunch of clumps of the egg yarn, take them out to about 1/3 or quarter pieces, strip them down, and then kind of fluff them out like this. And you lay these out in stacks all over your tying bench. Lay the stacks one on top of the other. So you have this bunch right here. And lay it on top of the hook. If you've ever tied a spinnerling, this pattern will be very easy for you to tie. So a couple turns going one way, a couple turns going the other way. It's going to look like that. Exactly like a spinnerling. Take the material, hold it up, a couple wraps. Cut the thread, hold the material up, and just cut it right across. Now it might look kind of funky in the vise here, but let's take a look and see what it looks like underwater. Now once this fly is wet, man, does that look like an egg. All that translucency in there. Great pattern. No wonder why Chuck catches so many fish. For the next pattern, we're going to tie what I like to call the egg clump. Take one strand of fly foam, and half a strand of egg yarn, kind of spread out like we did before on the nuke eggs. Lay one over the other, and now I'm going to roll the fly foam right into the egg yarn. This is what we call the egg clump. Great dirty water fly when fish are looking for a bigger meal. I'm going to take this and just give it a quick cut in half. So the first strand, lay it on top. Give a couple securing wraps. Next strand I'm going to put on top, I'm going to put it on at an angle. It'll look like an X when I'm done here. A couple wraps this way. A couple wraps that way. Lift the whole thing up. Alright, hold them all up. Gotta get one cut straight across. Helps to have sharp scissors. And you see all these little individual eggs dotted in there. Let's wet it and take a look at it. Take a look at that. Looks just like a big clump of eggs. Excellent for dirty water when you need a little bit bigger presentation. This one here is called an Staz egg. And you can use a Staz, you use the Petite Staz, especially for the smaller eggs, or you can just use ice chenille. Make a nice big egg. But at first what I'll do is I'll take a couple little pieces of crystal flash, lay them over the hook so it's laying about a hook length over the back. Hold it down, tie it in at the front, fold it over. Now I have 4 pieces sticking out of the back. Gives a little bit of flash. This is a great egg in dirty water. Take the ice chenille, lay it on top of the hook, tie it in, make sure it's nice and clean, and begin wrapping. So I'm going to give a wrap, now I'm going to pull towards the back. Give it a little bit of bulk doing that. A few wraps. Cut off the material. Now we want to put a veil on here. You can either use, again, you can use an egg veil. You can also use maybe a yarn, or you can use a little piece of antron or Zelon. I'm going to use a couple pieces of antron. I'll lay them over the top of the hook, right about at the eye. A couple wraps to tie them down. Pull around so they're around the hook and around my Staz or ice chenille. A couple wraps. And the Staz egg is done. So let's go ahead and wet this fly. And looks pretty neat. Great dirty water fly. And still again, we've retained most of the gap of that hook. Very, very, very little taking up the gap of that hook. That way we're sure to hook those steelhead.